Most of us picture the Earth as a continuous, solid sphere of rock. But beneath the soil and the oceans, the planet's surface is shattered. These massive fragments are in perpetual motion, constantly grinding, colliding, and tearing away from one another. This 3D cross-section shows the lithosphere, the rigid outermost shell comprising the crust and upper mantle. Under immense stress, it elastically bends until reaching its limit, giving way to brittle fracture. Beneath lies the asthenosphere, superheated mantle rock under extreme pressure, flowing viscously like thick asphalt. Because this lower layer yields, the cold, rigid rock above isn't anchored to a static core. It physically floats atop a semi-fluid foundation. The shattered remnants of the lithosphere are called tectonic plates, discrete, interlocking puzzle pieces that form the planet's entire exterior. They are massive, yet their movement is imperceptibly slow. Depending on the plate, they travel 10 to 160 millimeters per year, roughly the speed human hair or fingernails grow. The ground beneath our feet consists of temporary, rigid rafts, constantly shifting across the churning, viscous ocean of the mantle. These rafts are not built from a uniform material. The lithosphere is divided into two distinct categories of rock. The continental lithosphere forms the land masses we live on. It is incredibly thick, reaching up to 200 kilometers deep. Despite its thickness, continental rock has a low density of about 2.7 grams per cubic centimeter. This makes it highly buoyant, allowing it to project above sea level and act as a permanent cap on the planet. Portions of our continents have remained intact for over 3 billion years. The oceanic lithosphere, by contrast, forms the floor of the global ocean basins. It is much thinner, usually no more than 100 kilometers deep, but it is composed of mafic rock, which is significantly denser. This graph traces the life cycle of oceanic rock. As a parcel of oceanic lithosphere travels and ages, it conductively cools. This thermal contraction forces the rock to thicken, and its density steadily climbs until it eventually exceeds the density of the asthenosphere below it. This density disparity creates a structural imbalance across the planet. Dense, sinking oceanic rock set against buoyant continental rock. This stark mechanical contrast provides the exact trigger required for the planet to eventually recycle its own surface. Dragging billions of tons of solid rock across the globe requires an immense source of power. To find the engine driving this system, we have to look thousands of kilometers straight down, to the planet's core. Tectonic plate movement is a surface expression of the planet dissipating internal heat into the cold vacuum of space. This models mantle convection. Core heat transfers upward via massive convection currents. Superheated mantle rock rises due to thermal buoyancy. Hitting the lithosphere's rigid underside, the flowing rock diverges laterally. This horizontal outward flow exerts basal friction, physically pulling the tectonic plates apart. While geophysicists still debate the exact depth and layering of these convection cells, the mechanical result at the surface remains constant. Tectonic plates are not self-propelled. They are passive, brittle belts, driven entirely by a planetary-scale thermodynamic engine. When the friction from mantle convection overcomes the structural integrity of the crust, the ocean floor splits open. These rupture zones form mid-ocean ridges, a continuous 50,000-kilometer underwater mountain network where tectonic divergence occurs. As the plates separate, the pressure on the underlying mantle drops. Depressurized magma bleeds upward through the newly opened rift. The superheated material is immediately quenched by freezing seawater. It crystallizes almost instantly, forming brand new oceanic crust. This newly formed rock is then pushed outward, physically displaced by the unrelenting upwelling of fresh magma rising from below. Mid-ocean ridges operate as continuous manufacturing lines. They are constantly synthesizing and adding massive volumes of new material to the trailing edges of the plates. The Earth is perpetually printing millions of square miles of new ocean floor, setting up an impossible geometric paradox for a closed spherical system. If the planet is constantly manufacturing new crust along 50,000 kilometers of ridges, the Earth's total volume and surface area should be expanding, but they remain constant. As it travels away from the spreading ridge, the newly minted oceanic plate steadily cools, contracts, and increases in density over millions of years. Eventually, this dense, moving oceanic plate arrives at a convergence zone, where it collides with a thicker, stationary continental plate. Because the cold oceanic lithosphere is denser, it is forced to dive. The heavier plate scrapes underneath the lighter continental crust. Here, slab pull takes over. Immense localized weight creates negative buoyancy, dragging the entire oceanic plate into the abyss. This downward gravitational pull at the trench is the strongest mechanical driver of the entire global tectonic conveyor belt. The grinding collision comes with severe localized consequences: extreme crustal deformation, deep focus earthquakes, and plate crumpling, forming massive mountain ranges. The geometric paradox is resolved. The Earth operates as a closed-loop system, where the surface area gained at divergent ridges is perfectly balanced by the surface area destroyed at subduction zones. As the oceanic slab plunges hundreds of kilometers deep into the searing heat of the mantle, it begins to break down. The descending rock carries trapped seawater from the surface. When released under immense pressure, these fluids lower the melting point of the surrounding mantle, triggering explosive arc volcanism on the surface above. The remaining solid oceanic crust succumbs to the extreme temperatures. Its minerals are chemically altered and completely assimilated back into the flowing asthenosphere. Looking at this age map of the oceanic crust, a strict timeline emerges. While continental land masses hold rock billions of years old, no segment of the oceanic crust exceeds 200 million years in age. This rigid age limit is a direct measurable consequence of the Earth's recycling facility operating at a constant rate. This 200 million year timer defines a temporary landscape, destined for destruction and recycling to fuel the Earth's internal fire.